Following a period known as the Phony War, after the defeat of Poland where Hitler wasn't sure what to do, the Führer turned his attention to the invasion of France. This took place in Europe during May of 1940. The idea was to speed through the Low Countries of Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands and catch the French napping. Many had thought this would be very difficult given the much vaunted Maginot Line, a series of fortifications that guarded France's and Belgium's borders with Germany. This cartoon rather says it all. This side view shows the Maginot Line as a static defense. In other words, it did not move, and it was intended to reassure people, but ultimately proved ineffective. This reminds me of a pet gerbil I owned as a child. His name was Chauncey. The main reason for this was that the German commander, Heinz Guderian, used a bold new strategy. The Jerries moved at a tremendous pace thanks to mechanized infantry and air support, using the strategy known as blitzkrieg, or lightning war, where troops attacked the weak points of a defense and used speed to outflank or cut off and surround enemy forces. This simple diagram that even a child could understand makes it quite crystal clear what the strategy was. Now, this rather excellent tank, the Panzer, moved very quickly, had tremendous firepower, and quite frankly caused us a lot of problems. The Ardennes forest was thought to be an impenetrable barrier, but the German army proved otherwise by going through it. They also simply went around the Maginot Line, proving that movement-oriented strategies are far more effective than static bases and defenses. Perhaps a video would be useful at this juncture. In just 10 days, the Germans had reached the coast and were now in a position to occupy France, which they did for the next 4 years. The second part of this turning point involves the British in a much larger capacity and became known as Operation Dynamo. The fact of the matter was that both the Brits and the Frenchies, were surrounded, and the BEF was bloody lucky that Hitler and crew didn't keep their foot on the pedal at Dunkirk. This gave them time to evacuate the approximately 340,000 troops in a very chaotic situation. The Royal Navy's large vessels could only come so close to shore, and so civilian vessels were pressed into service and became known as the Little Ships of Dunkirk. Pleasure boats, rowboats, whatever boats, were a massive life raft that saved many thousands of lives on the beaches. Now see here, even though the beaches were bordered by high cliffs, the German Stuka dive bombers were able to harass the BEF and French soldiers as they were attempting to evacuate. I've always been fascinated by Lego, so perhaps this movie will prove to be particularly illuminating. The significance of this turning point cannot be overstated, in that Hitler and Germany had knocked France out of the war, and the little moustache was now able to bomb Britain with impunity. However, it would be the dogged determination of the RAF and Churchill that would pose an insoluble barrier in the coming months. In response to this, Winston Churchill gave his rather famous address, where he stated, and I quote, "We shall defend our island Whatever the cost may be, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender."